but how's it going to be managed? What will be the role of the DD agency? Now, that may concern me more than it does you, but I believe it probably should concern you all, because do you want this program, in essence, turned over to the big Medicaid agency? And I'm going to tell you, there's a legitimate reason to have some developmental disabilities expertise whenever you are doing business with any kind of medical organization, even for the primary and acute care. In Arizona, for instance, all of the DD population is enrolled in a managed care organization for primary and acute care health services. But there are 4 managed care organizations that provide that in Arizona. Those contracts are actually managed and procured by the state DD agency. And the reason I think that might be a useful feature is because there are specific medical needs that our population exhibit that are going to be totally off the charts for a managed care organization that doesn't have experience dealing with our population. Again, think what somebody at a call center, a prior service vendor, is going to think whenever they get a request for anesthesia for a dental procedure. But you know what? That happens. That's a legitimate need. You need to get somebody who can write that contract the right way up front, so that so that you don't start to have problems on the back end of this and people going without care while they're involved in some kind of dispute with the managed care organization. That lack of familiarity with our population could really, really result in serious problems and serious disruptions to our folks. Another question is, how much of your ability to self-direct, to self-determine, how would that be affected? The trend in our field over the last couple of decades has been increasingly more and more consumer or family self-direction. How will greater central control affect that? Another question is, over time, what is the likely impact to the current grassroots service delivery system that is developed in this state? Any of you that have been doing this for a long time, like I have, remember a day when that local ARC or some similar group, that was mom and pop. It sprang up from the community. It's an organic thing from the community itself. Are we going to lose that? That would be a concern of mine. Again, I'm speaking as a family member. That would be a concern. Now, in the first year in the House bill, they basically forced the HMOs to contract with the current service providers. But will the terms that HMO attempts to impose be terms that these grassroots providers are willing to accept or can accept and provide the quality of care? What kind of role will there be in a privatized system for community fundraising and local charity? That is a huge supplement for a lot of our nonprofit providers. And it allows them to do little things that they could not do if they were solely reliant on the Medicaid payment that we're able to provide for them. And then finally, the last question is, how will your due process rights be preserved and affected by this? Will you still have the ability to ask for a hearing and keep your current benefit level in place until that hearing is concluded? How's that going to be handled? And I would ask, and if I were speaking to a group of managed care executives, I would ask how they're going to deal with that if they have to be at risk. And and they get 5,000 due process hearings like we did. I'm telling you, that costs a lot of money. So those are some questions. For those of you who engage with policymakers, and for those of you keeping up with this, that I think are relevant, and I think they are fair questions. No cheap shots here. They're all relevant, they're all very important, and I'm sure that you'll come up with your own. So let me close by making just a few points, and then we'll take your questions. First off, just understand that change is coming. The status quo that we had is not going to continue. I'm not even sure we want it to continue. I'm not sure the four-tiered waiver system really works well for anybody. So change is going to come. The only question is, what's going to be the nature of the change? Are they going to allow us to bring our iBudget system up, see how it works? Or are we going to go down yet another avenue? But it's coming, and please understand why. These aren't mean-spirited people that you're electing to represent you in Tallahassee. They're not people who don't care about the needs of disabled people. They did run, many of them, most of them, on a platform of being fiscal conservatives who aren't going to raise taxes and who are going to hold down the cost of government. So understand you're dealing with an intelligent layperson that cares about these issues for the most part here. And so engage. Engage, but do so in a thoughtful and intelligent manner. Ask the questions that are important to you. Give the ideas that you think make the system better. Be heard. Talk to those members when they're here in your community. It's not nearly as effective for you to go to Tallahassee as it is for you to make an appointment here. And go. And if you're a family member, take your family member with you. Remind these individuals that these are human beings, because you know what? They're human beings too. That's an effective message. Be smart about what you say. Don't be insulting or rude. Treat them like you would want to be treated yourself, even if you disagree with them. It's possible to disagree without being disagreeable. One of my favorite phrases ever that I learned in the legislature is you can have vigorous debate without making it personal or nasty. And words matter. What you say matters. What you say will largely go a long way towards whether they ever want to hear from you again. So be effective. Engage, but do so thoughtfully. I don't know if any of you listen to sports radio. There's this guy, I think his name is Jim Rome. And I love the way he said when people would call in, he said, you only had two rules. Have a take and don't suck. So have a take. When you go there, have something to say besides how dare you. Try to offer a couple of solutions or offer some examples of things that concern you. Ask the questions. Try to get them to think. Try to get them to engage back with